Meeting of the Novato Unified School District Board of Trustees. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I have a small announcement. Welcome. Please know that anyone at this meeting is being broadcasted on the NUSD YouTube channel at the direction of the board. The broadcast may capture images and sounds of those attending the meeting. Can I get an approval of tonight's agenda, please? Trustee Millerick?
I'll move approval of the agenda for this evening.
Second by Trustee Pickus. Thank you. All in favor? We have 6 trustees tonight, none opposed. Okay, and now approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items that anyone would like to pull? Yes, Trustee Butler.
Can we do closed session announcement?
Oh, yes, we can. Thanks.
Good evening. The board met in closed session on the following items. Security matters. Development approval of tactical response plan, consultation with Dr. Julie Seinard, Executive Director of Education Services, information only. 2, personal matters, public employee discipline dismissal release, information only. 3, negotiations, collective bargaining, conference with labor negotiators, Francesca Whitcomb, Executive Director of Human Resources and Employees Organization, California State Employee Association, CSEA, information only. Item 4, conference with labor negotiators, Francesca Whitcomb, Executive Director of Human Resources and Employee Organization, Novato Federation of Teachers, NFT, information only.
Thank you. Okay, try again. Can we have approval of the consent agenda or any items that would like to be pulled? Yes, Trustee Gasson?
I'd like to pull item 15G. And we can do it after everyone's presentation, everything.
Okay. So is there any other items? Okay, a motion to approve the consent agenda without item G.
I will move the approval of the consent agenda minus item G.
Thank you. Seconded by Trustee Gasson. Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? That's 6-0 plus 1. Okay, we will now have our announcements, and let's please start with our student trustee.
Hi. Okay, so San Marin has a couple of things going on this week, starting with our Academic Achievement Recognition Brunch this Friday with our principal, Mrs. Larson. Also, counselors are visiting all students to review graduation requirements and help them understand what they need to do, since that's coming up. A to G requirements, transcripts, and also helping register for next year's classes. They're trying to get an early start on that. We have Spring Club Fair next week, January 24th during lunch. And we also have auditions for the spring musical, Mamma Mia, which are going on now. And then finally, we have our winter formal dance on February 2nd. Thank you.
No comments for this evening. Thank you very much.
Just a quick comment. I wanted to just give an extra shout out to some of our community partners. Specifically, Novato Rotary is building some planter boxes at Linwood, but that's just one example of just like the so many projects that Rotary does with Novato. And there are so many great community partners, and just really want to acknowledge all that they are doing. And also, Dr. Smith, to you and your staff, I know that you are going to Rotary meetings and trying to build those relationships, which are so important for us. So thank you.
I was able to get to the JLAC meeting this past week also, and most of the conversation was related around the governor's budget. And also CSBA hosted a webinar around the governor's budget proposal as well, so I was able to join in on that. North Marin Council PTA meeting, and Modeling the Way, where we were able to get to 4 sites and honor 4 employees of the district.
So I have to have an adjustment sitting next to you and after you because that's going to be ditto, ditto, ditto. But a little different. It was a weird, long, but fun break. Trustee Lametta and I were invited to attend on January 9th with other local dignitaries an event at Congregation Kol Shafar to meet with Lieutenant Governor Eleni Kounalakis in conversation with Anti-Defamation League Director Mark Levine to talk about anti-Semitism in California and what can be done about it. I'm looking forward to follow up. There's some legislative things that are going to be done through the state level. Last Wednesday, I too attended JLAC and then the CSBA session on the governor's budget release and hearing about the 0.76 COLA. The LAO, which is the Legislative Analyst Office, also came out with a report which said that the governor was being a little optimistic. So it'll be interesting few months as we go through our budget. I also attended and love seeing the PTA presidents at North Marin Council PTA on Friday, and then I enjoyed tremendously being invited to Rancho to do story time in my Cheshire Cat pajamas and reading, oh my gosh, I forgot the book, Interrupting Chicken. So that was a lot of fun. Tomorrow there is a Safe Routes to School meeting at 5 o'clock. The details can be found at saferoutestoschool.org under the Task Force tab for Novato. So again, 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Good evening. I attended a few basketball games over the winter break. I want to thank our athletic directors and coaches who were working during the winter break to support our students. I was also able to go to the MSA soiree where alumni come back and participate in the performances, so I really appreciate that. I also want to make an announcement. The Marin Teen Girl Conference is happening March 3rd, and I think it's a wonderful conference sponsored by the Marin Women's Commission, and I will share more information so we can spread the word on our campuses, especially like in our high schools and middle schools. And Francesca is she's a teen ambassador, so she's part of the planning committee. So I love seeing Novato representation on the committee. And I was going to say one more thing, and I can't remember, but but thank you.
Since our last meeting, I participated in numerous conversations with community members and had the pleasure of honoring some of our staff in Modeling the Way.
All right. Want to welcome our new trustee. Thank you for being with us. This is your first time with us, correct? No, you were with us in December one time. You did. Okay. Another excellent job. Thank you for being here. All by yourself over there. Yes. Okay. We want to welcome people to in our PTA meeting and then our district DLAC meeting. Josh Braff, CFO, myself, and then Julie Sinyard, our executive director, are going on a road show, and we come and we teach a little bit more about our budget, kind of what direction of where we're headed in the district, and anyway, it's been enjoyable so far. So we're just going to keep it a little shorter. It's hard to talk about a budget in a few minutes. We have so many exciting sports happening at all of our school sites. The games are going very well, and we want to congratulate especially Novato Cheer for their first place win at regionals over the weekend. We too are digesting the governor's budget, the good, the bad, and the somewhere in between, and a lot of guessing still exactly what happens. And we have our heads down focused on that as we start negotiations next week, both with CSEA and NFT. Let's see. Congratulations to our attendance teams. We had a big drop in attendance, not a surprise in December, very common. And the numbers already up this last 2 weeks have been back where they were. So thank you to all the efforts that go in with that. The LCAP is the Local Control Accountability Plan. We are starting our also what we call a road show, but we're out and about getting information and needs assessment to know where we want to head. The 3-year LCAP is going to be complete at this year, so it's time to write a new one. On January 29th and February 5th are draft dates for a 6 o'clock evening event called, we're calling it a town hall. So it's an opportunity for anybody to come and share in giving feedback. And I also participated in Modeling the Way, an absolute favorite. And I also got to read Story Time at Rancho.
Okay, tonight we have a presentation from Loma Verde Elementary School. This is Principal Chima.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tania Chima. I'm the principal at Loma Verde Elementary School. I know where I work. I have some wonderful students, our 2nd and 3rd graders here, who are going to be sharing their writing. I'm going to just go in here. And I can do this. We also have lots of teachers in the audience, but specifically our 2nd and 3rd grade team. We have Mrs. Pfeiffer, Miss Reed, Miss Thomas, Miss Vega, Miss Colenbrander, who is our ELD teacher who's been working with our students. Miss Johnstone couldn't be here. Did I miss someone? And we have lots of other stuff as well here. So thank you for being here. And all right, come on, Beth.
Good evening. Hi, my name is Beth, and I am in Miss Reed's 3rd grade class. We started with a narrative writing unit this year. Our goal was to create a book for a publishing party where our parents would also be invited. We learned about how to write a narrative and what makes a good narrative story. We looked at the learning map to know what makes for a good story. It has lots of details, and sometimes it has dialogue, like people talking to each other. Here is my story. Christmas in class. Once upon a time, I was in Miss Hanley's remarkable class. We were having our Christmas party. Then, the best part of it all came. You might think this is like cookies or dessert, maybe fun and games. Although it is not really like that kind of stuff. It is action-packed, funny, and best of all, it wishes you a Merry Christmas. We were going to dress up some people at our table group as Christmas trees. We did a raffle, but a small one. The parent picked my name, and I jumped for joy. Next, we went outside to start. They took silky wrapping and wrapped it around the human Christmas trees. It felt tight and loose at the same time. It covered my whole body. I could not see. Suddenly, one of the kids decorating me put a paper ornament on me so hard I almost toppled over. Then someone else did the same other way. I started falling. Timber, I thought. Finally, I was about to hit the ground, and one of the other parents lifted me up. She started to walk with me into a space where I could see 3 other Christmas trees. Well, just a faint glimpse. It turns out they were taking a picture. I wobbled a little bit, but I stood my ground. Last but not least, the kids tore the ornaments off and ripped the silky paper. And I always remember that fun moment, the end.
We're also passing the books around. So my special helper here will pass the books around. So Kaori, come on up.
My name is Gauri, and I am in Ms. Vega's 2nd grade classroom. I learned a good story has a sequence of an event with a beginning, middle, And here is my story.
Principal, we're going to give you a different microphone if that's okay.
Do you want to have them come out here?
My mom dropped me and my friend Layla. We were going to the ice cream shop. I was so happy. We got to the shop. I saw so many ice cream flavors. We were excited. Next, Lila and me got our ice cream. Lila got coconut and strawberry. I got vanilla and coconut. We both got coconut flavor. After we went to the jumpies, we had so much fun. Then we went to my house. We saw a movie because we had a sleepover. The end.
Hi, my name is Brianni. I'm in Miss Thomas' class, second grade. I come to love my birthday in America last year. I am learning English. I am so excited when I come to love my birthday and so nervous, but my mom say you can do it. I can. This is my story. First, the farmer Brown was waiting for Santa. Next, Santa arrived to help. Then, Santa left in the good night.
They're getting taller.
My name is Yusef, and I am in Miss Pfeiffer's third grade class. We all learn about starting a story from a small moment. It was hard thinking of an idea. At home, I looked at my bird and decided to write about the bird. I wrote a rough draft and then wrote this story. My mom told me I can get a bird. I was so happy. Then we went to the store. Then I looked to the birds. They was so adorable. It was so hard to pick. I looked at one, but it was so sick. I was so sad for the bird. Then I looked to a bird. It was perfect for me. It was yellow and green. Then I get some toys and some food. The end. My name is Jacob, and I am in Miss Vega's second grade class. After our first draft was done, we had to read our writing again and edit and make it a final copy. Some of the words were hard to spell, but we got help from our teachers. Here is my story, Halloween, by Jacob. One day in the morning, I knew it was Halloween. We get ready. My brother was Mario and I was Luigi. We went to school. They had a parade. When we get home, we went to practice soccer. I was nervous. I am good, but my brother Tommy is better than me. I was brave. Tommy made the last goal in the last minute. After practice, we were going to eat to Halloween. I was so excited. We ate chips in the car and went to houses to get candy. We would say trick or treat. My brother Tommy ate a little bit of candy. It was a good day. My name is Kate, and I'm in Miss Johnstone's third grade class. Some of us generated a long list of small moments. I came up with a long list of ideas. After we brainstormed ideas, and then we wrote a first draft, I edited my writing a few times, and then it was ready to be published. Here's my story. Halloween Crazy. One Halloween night in 2020, my friend Audrey, our parents, and I were trick-or-treating. Little did I know it was going to be one crazy fun night. One night I went over to my friend Audrey's house and asked her parents if we could go trick-or-treating together. They said, okay, but are your parents okay with this? I said, yeah, they said to go and ask you. So Audrey's mom came with us. When we were trick-or-treating, we got to this really cool house. It had so many decorations. It was so spooky and pretty at the same time. Audrey and I went up to the door, and before we hit the doorbell, I heard a voice. That voice said, "Look up at the window." So Audrey and I looked up and saw a big tube, and we also saw a girl. She said, "Put your bag under the tube." So we did. 3, 2, 1, and candy shot out of the tube fast. When we got back from trick-or-treating, we went over to Audrey's house and sat in the garage. Then we dumped out all of our candy and sorted it all out. Then Audrey's grandfather came out and sat in a chair and said, "If you give me one Reese's, I'll trade you $1." Audrey and I looked at each other and said, "Let's get rich." So Audrey and I got all of our Reese's and got rich. After we got rich, we went to my house, and Audrey saw my brother and my electric scooters. She immediately asked me if we could go on the scooters. I said, "Well, I have to teach you how to ride it." So I taught her, and she was zooming by and had a big smile on her face. After I taught her how to ride it, I thought of a prank on the parents. Well, not a prank, but something funny. I told Audrey the plan, and we got on the scooters and said, "Duct tape rules!" Our parents were laughing so hard that they couldn't breathe. So Audrey and I did it, I think 7 or 8 more times. My mom said, "Come here and make some s'mores." So Audrey and I made s'mores, ate candy, and said goodbye and goodnight. The end.
My name is Jake, and I am in Miss Pfeiffer's 3rd grade class. I don't like writing a lot, so I decided to write a picture book because I wanted to have a book for the audience at the publishing party. Here is my book. You're holding it upside down. My Amazing Adventure. This is the intro. Hey, don't start this book. There's a very short introduction right after this message, which is over, by the way. When you read my book, please look for my pet spider. And please also use your imagination to tell what the story is like in your own way with the picture. There's also a surprise character at the end of this book. Please use your own voice for him, but only use the Jake voice for me, even though I don't say anything. I do gasp a few times. So go on your own adventure of reading this book. You should show them the pictures. Miss Sheba is funny. Okay, this is the back part. This book has not been approved for the public and obviously does not have any medals. But then again, it was created by a child, so I don't think it needs to be.
This one and this one. So bad. But why they're not colored?
Hold a book right.
Oh,
Trustee Gasson?
I was just saying, I just love it. And what everyone's missing is the incredible drawing that are included in the books. And then I love some of the booklets had like a place for feedback, or I forget what the page was. So that's fabulous. I love that there's different aspects that included with what they were doing. So I just love it. Is there a program? I know when my kids were little, it was Lucy Calkins' model. Is that?
I also want to thank all the students for their great handwriting and pictures. It was really neat to see your books and all the work you've done. Thank you.
Tanya, you need to get in the picture. She can go. Absolutely. What do I care?
Okay, we're now going to go to non-agenda public comment. We have one commenter. Alicia, I will mess up your last name, so I'm just going to invite you to speak.
It's a tough act to follow. I was not anticipating that. Hello, my name is Alicia Insho Ogie. I have 3 children who attend school in Novato. I have a 5th grader in an MCOE special day class at Hamilton, as well as a 2nd grader and a TKer in general education at Pleasant Valley. I've spoken here a few times, usually advocating for the inclusion of our students with disabilities. This evening, I will again be speaking to you about inclusion, more specifically the need for an inclusion consultant or specialist here in Novato. First, I'd like to give you some information about what an inclusion specialist does. An inclusion specialist has specialized knowledge of current principles and techniques of educating students with significant disabilities in general education classrooms. The specialist not only provides support to students in general education programs, but also assists general education teachers and paraeducators to ensure that students have a chance to succeed in the classroom. In addition, a specialist effectively communicates with parents concerning all aspects of their child's educational program. Specialists possess extensive knowledge of disabilities from mild to moderate and severe, and have experience supporting students with a wide range of educational and support needs. Simply put, inclusive education can provide a range of academic and social benefits for students with disabilities when it's done right. An inclusion specialist is one that has the dedicated time, expertise, and ability to ensure that it's done right. And Novato does not currently have this. I know this because I've been asking for one from our special education elementary coordinator since April, and I've been stonewalled for the past 9 months. At first, I was told that they would look into it. Then months later, I was told Novato didn't have an inclusion specialist and had no intention of hiring one. Which seems strange to me given that school districts like Mill Valley and Reed have full-time inclusion specialists, yet Novato, which is home to more than 1/4 of the 4,000 students receiving special education services in Marin, has nobody to provide this critical support. Now, my goal this evening is simply to highlight a need here. There are over 1,000 students receiving special education services here in this district that range from mild to moderate and severe, and they deserve to be included with their general education peers. My daughter deserves to be meaningfully included. Now, I know that special education isn't easy. I live it every single day, but that doesn't mean you do nothing. You have to do the right thing for the students that you serve, all of the students that you serve. You have a responsibility to ensure that our students with disabilities are given access to a quality education, and I can tell you from experience that that is not happening. Lastly, I'd like to highlight just how difficult it is for parents to navigate special education, specifically here in Novato. We hear a lot about DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, and how districts and schools are committed to being equitable. But that's not what I'm seeing. I'm an English-speaking, stay-at-home mom who has the time and the means to ensure that my daughter gets the services that she needs, and I often wonder what happens to students whose parents aren't able to do that. Parents who can't come to every PTA or board meeting, parents who work long hours or multiple jobs, parents who don't speak the language, parents who can't afford to hire advocates and lawyers. Do their kids just go without? If it's this hard for me, I can only imagine how hard it is for them. It is not equitable to expect parents to jump through this many hoops just to get their child the services that they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Well timed. Okay, our next item is staff report. This is brought to us by Dr. Julie Sinyard. A overview of the current career technical education programs with Daniel Mikola, thank you.
Okay, good evening, Board of Trustees and a student representative and Dr. Smith. It's my pleasure to introduce Daniel, who is going to talk to you a little bit about our career technical education program.
Thank you, Julie. Justice here. Good evening, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Dr. Smith. My name is Daniel Mikola, and I'm the project leader, College Career Readiness for Novato Unified, or in short, CTE coordinator. A little bit of alphabet soup, but I'll make sure to define that. CTE is Career Technical Education. And it's been like a year since I've seen you all. Thank you for having me come back. More like a month, but who's counting? Thank you for allowing me to come share out the amazing, exciting opportunities that Novato offers in CTE, Career Technical Ed. As you see on the slides, we have the 3 different schools: Marin Oaks with culinary, Novato High with their 3D digital art, film, patient healthcare, photography, product design, and video game design, as well as San Marin with biotechnology, broadcasting, Cisco cybersecurity, multimedia, stagecraft, tech theater, and sports medicine. Please excuse me as I did forget to put engineering on there for San Marin High School. I'm sorry, student representing San Marin. And Mr. Williams and Mr. Tronconi, if you're watching, please forgive me. The engineering has 109 students that they serve, and I'll make sure to include that on the next blueprint or build that in there, pun intended. Competition drives innovation. As you see here, here's some programs we have over at Novato High School in our Marin School of the Arts. In the top right, we have Mr. Fletcher's photography class. As they have each semester, they vote on their peers' work, and they have 16 photos that are framed and put on the Wall of Fame. You'll see these in Mr. Fletcher's class, as well as the hallway that's in the Wellness Center at Novato High School. Mr. Chidell has encouraged, there's two competitions that you see here in the top left, two students, Jackson and Martin, who have been entered into the All-American High School Film Festival that they attended in New York back in October, and they were honorably mentioned, as well as a competition for a 60-second horror film that was asked not to show tonight. So I'll give you my email later if you want to see the link. What was cool about that, our students entered in the Student Television Network that's based out of Long Beach. And this is their first time they did this. They're placed second place. And you can see a picture of the student in the mirror, reflecting the student washing her face, and that's a clip from it. Their criteria was to have 1 minute, and they had to include a prop of a mirror. They had to include some some old horror film in it, as well as saying the line, "Is it over?" So it's a great little short, and again, I'll share that later. And they placed second place. Lastly, Howard Gersh in his digital art and design class, they had their first competition for a 24-hour animation. And just to give you some numbers there was about 430 schools that participated, and they're mostly college and universities across the world. And only 13 high schools competed. So Novato had one team of 4 female students, and they came up with this animation short. The criteria for this was to have tribute to animation, so to include that in the little animation, as well as all unique work. And they only had 24 hours to do it. And of the 430 schools, they were placed 110th, so in the top 30%, which is amazing. I'm going to step out of the slideshow to show you the quick 30-second show. Thank you. So our challenges, but rather I like to stay positive and look at our opportunities. Making sure all of our students have access to our CTE, our career technical education classes. With recruitment, student recruitment, having the uniformity across the different schools and exposure to different careers. As you see a little thumbnail on the slide, and you guys have in your handouts, there's a one-pager there for one of our programs, but we created these one-pagers to help with counselors as well as parents to break that mindset of just college only, but we can also prepare our students for career, as I mentioned last month, being college and career ready. Partnering with industry leaders. I think it was Trustee Abby talking about Rotary Club earlier, and kind of give a quick story. Dr. Smith and Dr. Senior allowed me to participate with the Education Novato leadership back in November, and was on a panel to present. And leading to that, Rotary Club member Sue invited me, wants me to speak. So I'll be speaking next month to the Rotary Club in February but also, as an educator, I want to do my research. So I was like, can I check out one of your meetings beforehand? She had a list. So I was actually at the Rotary Club meeting this morning, got to meet Police Chief of Novato, Chief Noggle, as well as a wastewater management, Mac McKenzie. So these are building more industry partners that we're going to have in the future. And I have a meeting with Mac later this week to talk about wastewater management with our biotech program over at San Marin. So it's just a nice rabbit trail, jumping down the hole, and just bringing more opportunities for our students. Expanding to middle schools, we do have our middle school foundation grant that we're going to be working on this year. And credentials. Credentials could always be a problem, but it's also an opportunity. So last year alone, we have 4 NUSD staff members working on their CT credentials to obtain, also currently to work on and to build more programs. And if you know anybody else that's interested in, if they got that experience, send them my way. We'll get them that credential and put them in the classroom to give opportunities for our students. And then other 2, like scheduling conflicts is a given across different platforms with either MCOE, Marin County Office of Ed program classes, as well as either College of Marin classes. And then transportation is always the issue, trying to get buses. And speaking with that, I did meet Next Gen Trucking for a transportation program to maybe bring to our school district. And more to follow, have a follow-up meeting a couple weeks for another grant to fund that. So challenges turn them into opportunities, staying positive with that. Our future, current partnerships and future. So we do have the College of Marin and Marin County Office of Ed. There you see pictured. In the bottom right is our audio sound recording class. That is a ROP, which stands for Regional Occupational Program, put on through Marin County Office, and any Marin County students that are in high school can participate. We also have the CAP, which is a Car Appreciation Preservation Program that our students participate with, as well as construction. And then College of Marin, we have started an auto program. All 3 of our high schools, Marin Oaks, San Marin, and Novato, participate with. They started that last semester, and that's going to continue to start next week. And we're looking at building the future again with middle school. In education, there's one thing that we do is we steal things. We take it and make it our own to make it better. So more opportunity to come later, but Fairfield has a great program with their middle schoolers. They bus them all to one centralized location to allow them to get exposed to different programs and different industries. We need to hit them earlier in the middle schools to get them thinking about what they want to do. They're already thinking about it. They're already asking questions. And so we want to make sure to provide that opportunity. But that takes a lot of planning and a lot of support, not only just from our district, our county office, as well as our local college, College of Marin, the chamber, and various industry partners that want to help support that. So more to come, but excited to bring that in the fall for our middle schoolers. And then industry and CT credential, as I mentioned earlier, if you got folks that are interested and maybe want to teach a class, send them my way, please. Lastly, pictured up on the top left, we have Dr. Alma Siddiqui. She is our instructor of our patient healthcare programs over at Novato High School that we do have a partnership with COM for our EMT classes. With her in the top right, we have Dave Glasgow. He also supports Novato Unified. He's a Marin County employee, and we get interns. So we get students placed in internships throughout the 3 different high schools. We have Dr. Greg Chen in the top. He is industry. He's with the Buck Institute, and he brought scientists to come talk to the students as well as parents at her parent night. And then you see AP Michelle, Assistant Principal Michelle Cortez, and as well as myself. Bottom left, there is Olivia. She is a student from Marin Oaks. She's sitting in a race car in the garage at Sonoma Raceway. This is part of the CAP program, that Car Appreciation Preservation Program. They took a field trip to Sonoma Raceway, and they allow the students to hang out, talk to the drivers, and see how they do different things to modify the cars, to make them faster, to race, and to compete. So it's just a great opportunity for our students and to enjoy it. On that note, I'm done. Any questions?
Trustee Gasson and then Trustee Millerick.
First, I love all of this. I think there's just so many opportunities, and I don't think people really know all the different things that we can do depending on the student's interest, and the fact that you can start something and figure out maybe that's not the direction you want to go, and you learn it while you're in high school rather than going to like a 4-year and figuring out, why did I study for this? Like, you get an opportunity to kind of test drive whatever is there. I think more broadly into your point about, I was going to say junior high because that's what it was called when I was middle school. That is when I wish I kind of knew a little bit more. And I know that we were working with the communications group and Leslie a while ago about trying to develop some kind of brochure or booklet that highlights all of the different things and opportunities that are on our campuses. And I did go to the web page that was referred to in your somewhere in your materials, and now I can't think of what was on that. But do we have like a place where a parent can go and see all of the different pathways or programs that they have, that a student might have an opportunity, especially when they're looking? I know there's the ability to go to each campus and do a tour, but I think sometimes, like for us, Marin School of the Arts at Novato High is just so prevalent, you don't realize that there's the medical career pathways unless you know somebody that's doing that particular pathway. Or, there's a great music, well, it doesn't fall in this category, but the schools have so much that they each offer.
Yes.
And it's overwhelming, and I think sometimes unclear, like, what are the qualifications? Like, I had a friend who thought that their student couldn't get into any of the engineering or STEM tech stuff because they weren't good at math. But, so they immediately disqualified that as a possibility. So I'm just wondering, as we develop this, or if there's a way like a web page or an information piece that kind of outlines everything, it would be great.
That's a great question.
Such great work.
And not good at math yet, growth mindset. So prior math teacher. So that is a great question. And so it's not really explicit right now. I mean, you can go to San Marin High School or Novato High School and you have to look for it. As a matter of fact, I was at a conference last month and I was talking about marketing and having your own CTE website, which has inspired me. And I've actually met with Oz, our web designer, to have a follow-up and seeing how we can do that. I've mentioned to our CTE teachers, can we get some assets, photos, videos of the cool things your students are doing in the class, and that we can put that up and have a centralized location where it's not like you have to dig through it, just make an easy website for that. So more to come on that, but I appreciate that question and the thoughts.
Trustee Malik?
Thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to clarify your page 2 current offerings. You said there was engineering at San Marin of 109 in addition to the ones that are listed. Is that a correct statement?
Can you ask that one more time? I'm sorry.
Sure. So the page presents Marin Oaks 12 in culinary, 12 students, I assume.
Correct.
Novato High, whatever that adds up to. San Marin, whatever adds up. But you're saying there's a missing line and it should have said engineering.
Yes,
with
engineering for 109 students.
109 students. So that's actually a strong program. So I'd be very interested in having a conversation with you beyond this evening.
Please.
Because I'm interested in this particularly. Is the engineering, the 109, is that the STEM program that is they offer out there? Is that the same thing?
It's built in with the STEM program, yes.
Oh, so is STEM include these others, or is I guess I'm just sports
STEM's
medicine is not STEM.
Yeah, STEM's not listed up there, but biotechnology would be part of our STEM.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
So STEM encompasses a couple of these,
Correct.
including the engineering.
The engineering and the biotech.
Yes.
Those
Engineering
two.
and biotech, those two
Yes.
together form the STEM. Okay. Including probably the Cisco cybersecurity, probably.
Yes.
Right, yeah, okay, okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you for your question. And then if you saw on slide 6, you got my email. Love to talk to you anytime.
Trustee Butler and then Trustee Pickus.
Could you just explain the difference? Over the years, we've heard the acronym ROP versus CTE.
Yeah, so ROP is more or less the regional occupational programs that we have through our county offices. And that's been like the longest standing. CTE, Career Technical Ed, has been something that's been pushed more recently. I don't want to say it's synonymous, but it's almost close to that. CTE, there's been funding through like Perkins that have kind of guided that part of it, as well as our CTIGs, our Career Technical Education Incentive Grant. These are things that are more specific to our schools, but it's really like the shift from saying like all kids are going to go to college, but let's make sure we have them college and career ready, has moved that more of a push for CT, having more career technical education classes at our schools before we go to post-secondary. So high schools, middle schools, even elementaries, which is really inspiring.
This is so cool, and I just think if I had had this many options when I was younger, where would I have ended up? I mean, I love my job, but still. Can you? I don't know how I don't really know this, but what is the interplay between MCOE and NUSD? So we work together. Like, is it where does the funds come from? Where is the staffing? How much is MCOE? How much is NUSD? What does that relationship look like?
It's a great relationship. And going back to your first comment, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do when I grow up, so don't mind that. MCOE, Marin County Office, and Novato, we have a strong partnership. There's 2 grants that we do together, the CTIG, the Career Technical Education Incentive Grant, as well as the K-12 Strong Workforce that we do as a consortium. So Novato is one of the pieces that helps contribute to Marin County applying for that, as well as TAM District, as well as San Rafael, and Tamales, Shoreline. So those 2, we work with the grants, and then they decide, like, okay, based on what we do as far as our funding, our match of what Novato pays out, we get that funding back. And then Perkins is something that we just do Novato by itself. Did I answer that question? Or
Yeah, there's shared funding in order to put these programs in our schools. Or you are working collaboratively to write the grants to get the funding to put these programs in our schools?
The latter one. So we do contribute to our own writing part, but we apply as a whole consortium, so we all don't have to apply single districts. But as far as what we put into it, our match, and that's what we get out of it. It's not like, oh, here, you just get a little bit, you get a little bit. No, it's based on what we're putting out.
And you are helping to fund or to staff these positions, right? So you said if we have people who are looking to teach these courses, send them to you. You seem like an important player in helping to staff these, like finding people with the right skills.
Well, we're a big team here, but yeah, I am one of those components.
Okay.
As well as, seeing where we can meet them, what kind, we look at the labor market statistics if this is something we want to offer, but also, I failed to mention this earlier, but we're data driven, and why not ask our students? So I also survey our students, our CCR students at both schools, 9th grade, to find out what classes they want. So if it's something that the students are wanting, if we can find a fit for that, for sure. Now, as far as the CTE piece, that credential, it's less hoops that we have to jump through to get that credential. We have 2 staff members right now that are classified members that are going through it that don't have a teaching credential. But going through this, they can get their CTE credential based on work experience, having that industry experience to come in and bring that to our students. It's a really unique, cool idea. The match that you're asking about before, the grants, usually the district will pay the salaries of these folks, typically. And that's what the match we use, so we get the funding from our CTIG or our K-12 Strong Workforce grants.
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Great, thank you so much. This was fascinating.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, our next item is a public hearing. This is opening the public hearing. We're now going to hear from our CFO, Joshua Braff, in regards to this item.
This was just in case anyone wanted to make a public comment at the public hearing, that the name of this program is a little misleading. It does mention housing plan. This has nothing to do with the district's staff housing initiatives. This is specifically about reimbursement funds from the state of California.
Thank you. And we have one public comment from Irma.
Good evening. My name is Irma Mannion. I was looking at your resolution, so I have a question about the resolution language. So my concern, or my question is, in item number 4, I understand that you're taking money from elementary classrooms and putting them putting that funding toward high school classroom, correct? You can't answer that. Okay, so this is my concern. It says the district realizes that in order to house pupils in the project and at a different grade level than the project, the district plans to increase the loading factor to 28:1 in 45 elementary school grade level classrooms. So my question is, are you planning to raise the student to teacher level at the elementary classrooms to 28? Is that going to impact our class sizes? That's my question. Thank you.
That is our only public comment. We will close this hearing. Our next item is 14, discussion action, approval of A through G completion grant. This is with Dr. Julie Sinyard.
Thank you. Tonight I'm bringing back the A through G completion grant for consideration of approval. Again, this grant is intended to support students in the completion of the A through G eligibility requirements. And this grant originated to provide additional supports for our unduplicated students, which are our English learners, our foster youth, homeless, and low-income students. And NUSD intended to use this funding to increase and build counseling staff capacity through professional development targeted at creating a comprehensive counseling program to improve student outcomes, increase A through G eligibility, awareness, and understanding. And I can answer any questions that folks may still have.
Trustee Gasson?
Thank you, and thank you for responding to my questions. Ironically, I had an appointment with my junior level daughter's counselor today, and had a great conversation with him. And one of the components, I know this is going to be vetted out, and we'll see what the training is, but one of the things I think that happened that was eye-opening, there, like I said, I just don't know what I'm supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it. And he showed me on this thing that they gave me, like, okay, in the fall of the junior year, you should be doing that. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is fabulous. Like, I'm thinking even just some simple things as this is being developed for families and supporting I think there's just so much we just don't know. Like, there's a lot of information out there, but just as simple, like, you should be doing this month, or you should be, like I forgot his name, was just mentioning, what pathway you're doing, but, are you getting your core requirements and stuff like that. So it was just an observation. I was like, this is great. I'm glad that it's here and it's in our system.
Let's spread the word more.
Like,
Let's tell people
I'm like,
about
okay,
it.
I'm in my junior year. I'm like, I got another one coming down the pike, so now I know. But anyway, I'm looking forward to they have so many kids, and there's so many things that are different than a lot of parents that did even go to college have to experience, not to mention, if you don't have that experience in your home. So.
Good, great ideas, and again, we need to do a better job, and our counselors are phenomenal too. I just had a great meeting with them today, and really trying to figure out how are we providing more information to students and families, and creating our 4-year plans, whether it be, yes, I am, I want to go to university, this is my 4-year plan, or I'm not quite sure, I think maybe work, and really kind of setting the table for kids almost in 8th grade, kind of not almost, in 8th grade. You guys, let's start thinking about this, like Daniel just said. You guys, what do you want to do? Again, now is the time to be able to try some of these classes to see if this is an interest. And if you're hooked in this, fantastic. We're going to get you internships. We're going to see how we can partner you with industry. And again, I love the idea of a cheat sheet. Here's how you apply to college. Here's where you should start thinking of these things. Here's how to ask for letters of recommendation. We can easily put together some ideas like that. So.
The Novato High PTSA is also looking at kind of rethinking what we're doing. There's the MSA Foundation, which has its own supports, and you've got athletics, you've got each of these things. So what is it that the PTA can do to support our students? And we're actually meeting on Thursday. An idea was floated around on how can we support all kids and getting even career readiness. We're going to do a GAP event, they call it GAPS. I don't want to say seminar. It's like a thing where people can come in and learn about GAP opportunities for their students. And then also maybe looking at having trade schools, like having the potential for what trade schools are out there, what things could you do, and if there's an avenue that we could help support the district and the students there, because it doesn't have to just be I'm going to a 4-year college or whatever.
Right.
So
Bring the unions in too. Again, a lot of the unions want to get kids into apprenticeships right off the bat, and they can't work with kiddos until they meet 18 years old. So that's another kind of one of the challenges. But as soon as kiddos are starting to hit the appropriate age, there's no liability for the unions because, again, having students.
It's all these
at that
little
level.
details, huh?
Mhm.
So anyway,
Right?
I look forward to seeing this and the support for the counseling team and getting more for the kids. So thank you.
I think I saw Trustee Lametta. Nope. Okay, Trustee Butler, and then Trustee Millerick, sorry. And then Pickus.
So this is a grant, so this is a one-time funding, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So is this to increase the number of counselors or just to provide additional support to
Additional
them?
support, not increasing counselors at this
right.
time.
Okay, just want to verify that. Thank you very much.
Trustee Millerick?
So I'm looking at the cover sheet, and the very last paragraph on the first page, I'll just read it so you don't have to struggle to find it. Says the conditions of the grant state the Board of Trustees discuss the plan at a regular scheduled board meeting and adopt the plan at a subsequent regularly scheduled board meeting. The plan describes how the services supplement the local control accountability plan and the learning, I'll get there, recovery program, and details the extent to which all students, especially unduplicated students, have access to A to G courses. So there's two questions. One is this the first time we're discussing it, or is this the second time we're discussing it?
Second.
This is the second, right?
We're okay on that one. Mhm.
Okay, and how does this action specifically target the unduplicated? That's such a weird name for those students.
Right.
I'm imagining a cartoon character that's unduplicated. But those students who are supposed to benefit from this funding.
Right.
How do we make sure the money gets spent for them and not just for the next student that walks in the door?
Right. We know an area of concern for ours, and if we're looking at our data, our students who are unduplicated are not meeting the A through G eligibility requirement at the same level as students who are not in that category.
Yep.
And so this is kind of working with this organization to help develop our framework to discuss this conversation. And this doesn't happen, and again, by the time, this has to happen earlier. We can't wait till 11th, 12th grade, and then we're left with different options, or, how are we partnering with community colleges to make sure kids always are getting there. So that kind of looks at how are we reaching out to our families. And this encompasses a huge plan as well. At what level are we talking to families about, what is a 4-year university in plan? And, as Trustee Gasson just said, great idea. Wait, I'm not sure how to do this. And if we're not communicating early on with our families, especially our families who haven't, again, gone through this process, we're already putting them at a deficit. So it's kind of creating these frameworks to try and address going to the ELAC meetings, going to PTA meetings where we know folks can show up and have conversations, looking at different avenues, talking to students, being more, I think, kind of these 4-year plans early on as well, really getting that conversation of, if I'm going to be A through G eligible, this is what I have to do. So I'm not like, wait, how do I pick these? I think it's really tightening our processes. And then again, educationally, we're looking at our whole, kind of going back to the whole proficiency-based education as well, knowing when our families are coming in and having to work with our English learner population, and so that we're not having kids that are languishing in this long-term EL status. And how are we sharing this with our teachers to say, you guys, if kiddos aren't redesignated, bless you, if kiddos aren't redesignated by the time they're hitting secondary level, then they're missing opportunities and other electives because they're going to have to continue to take ELD courses. So really being mindful of that.
Oh, that sounds great. So how do we, maybe this is too hard, how do you target the support to make sure that we're hitting those kids? And that's probably a data analysis, data collection question. I mean, thank you for the answer.
Sure, it's reaching out earlier as opposed to later. And the counselors today kind of telling us how they're going into the classrooms, talking about the 4-year plans. I think they're really starting to do some moving and shaking, and that will help significantly for kids to understand.
Thank you.
Especially we have counselors that support our newcomers and our ELs as well.
So this is a 3-year grant, correct? Right. And we're in the first year?
Second year, I believe. So the grant was in 2022. with our plan. And so the money is good for us through 2026.
Got it.
We have
Okay.
till 2026 to spend the.
And so we're working with Hatching Results Professional Development Group during this time period, and they're
Correct.
helping us reevaluate.
Correct.
Got it. I think kind of to your question, it would be helpful to have a little bit more, I'd be interested in seeing specific areas of growth. So if we are looking to see a reduction in the number of students who are not A through G eligible, I think it would be helpful to say, okay, here are the areas that we have identified where we know that this has a high impact and we're not doing this well, that we want to focus on, so that we can not only at the end say, here the number of students has been reduced, but here are the changes to our programs that we have made in an effort to do so. I think those specifics would be a helpful way for us to say, here we can see what the district is doing to target those unduplicated students. And sort of separately, I mean, to someone's question about, I think counselors have, I know that we are working to contract and that we negotiate all of those pieces, but the counselors have a huge job. And so I appreciate that there is funding in here to provide extra supports for those counselors, but I just want to acknowledge that counselors are doing many different things, and it's a huge job. And so as we look at what's not working, I want to acknowledge there's a lot that's on their plate right now.
And I want to this came up at our meeting today. One of the counselors at Novato High was sharing with all of the supports that wellness has put in, and what a great job our wellness hub is kind of serving a huge need. One of the gals was just saying, you know what, to the extent that I have more time to work on the academic portion as opposed to dealing with a lot of the crisis management has been astronomical. So it was a great feedback as well. So we go, okay, great. Now knowing we have this wellness support here, which kind of takes some of the the immediate crisis that we're working with kiddos, we have more time to focus on what we need to do to get the kiddos to be A through G eligible. And so that's great information right there. It's like, okay, fantastic. We need to keep these going in order to do a better job hitting the kiddos that we need to target.
Yeah, certainly, and that we're putting funds there, but that's
Right.
also helping this effort that's over here.
Yep.
That they're intertwined. And did I read somewhere that the counselors are going to come and make a report in March? Is that right? Okay, great. So we'll be able to hear from them what they're seeing on their end. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much. Do we need to approve this? I think we do. Who would like to move to approve this? Trustee Lametta, thank you. And a second. Trustee Millerick, thank you. All in favor? 6+1, thank you.
So just as a point, making sure every kid's got a chance to attempt and work towards A to G requirements, so that when they get to the gate at the University of California, it isn't, sorry, your counselor didn't advise you correctly and you can't even walk in the front door. You're not even eligible to apply to walk in the front door, which is has happened historically.
Trustee Lametta, despite her best efforts, does have a comment.
Sorry, there's just a lot of, I'm very passionate about this, right? It's like, and I said this when you brought it to the board last month. If we don't, and I think you said this, if we are not supporting them in math and reading, which is the most important things about the AG requirements, then they're not, I don't want to say it's too late, but they're going to have to take another route. And there's nothing wrong with taking another route, but just making sure that we have provided all the resources and understanding that 44% of our students are Latinx, and some of their parents didn't go to college. And I know that this grant is to support counselors, but I also want to make sure that we include students, right? I met with 2 students over the winter break about another issue or another project, and they have so much information and they can provide you so much. So I don't know how we incorporate the student voice, because I know that this grant is to support our counselors and how to better the structures and systems so that we can better support them in their AG requirement. But I would like to see the student voice just because there's so much to learn from them.
LCAP's coming. LCAP time and getting to have interviews with kiddos. So that will be some great opportunity to ask students, what do you need? How are you feeling towards this? Do you feel you're well prepared? What else could we do? So we start doing that.
Thank you.
if I can just build on that piece, because, you know, we've talked a lot about how the math and science tracks and how that impacts this piece. You know, in my request for some specifics at a future date, I think it would be helpful to see that conversation woven into this. You know, how many of these kids are not A through G are not meeting their A through G requirements because of, you know, they didn't hit the right course at the right time, and so they're missing the math, or they're missing the science. I think, you know, as we're trying to like ask the questions around where the issues are, I think that would be a helpful piece to see in that language.
Perfect.
Thank you.
We did. Post-vote conversation. Yes. We all said yes. It was a 6-0 plus 1 student vote. Just to review. Okay, item 14B, also with Dr. Sinyard. This is approval of resolution number 12-2023-2024, authorizing absences for participation in religious exercises or instruction.
Great, thank you. Bringing this before the board. So as we are going through a number of our board policies, one of the policies that is coming forth is regarding absences. And in order to proceed with this policy, one of the requests or one of the demands is that we have a resolution authorizing absences for participation in religious exercise or instruction. And this is based on Education Code 46014. And basically, this is stating that in order for the district to receive daily attendance funding for absences related to religious exercises or instruction, the governing board must first adopt a resolution permitting an excused absence for the purpose and regulations governing students' attendance at religious exercises or instruction and the reporting of such absences. And so the student must attend this instruction for the minimum school day, kind of stating to the fact that our instructional minutes counting for a minimum day are either 230 or 180, and that the student would attend religious services for that duration of the time to be excused. And so this evening, I am asking that the board approves resolution number 12-2023/2024, the authorizing absences for participation in religious exercise or instruction so we can continue to collect ADA.
Do we have any questions or comments?
I'll move approval.
Let's go with a question
Yep,
first.
okay.
Trustee Gasson?
Okay, so I'm the woman of forms. Are we gonna have it, because it says it has to be written consent. So will there be a form or something that a parent can just fill in, or how, I mean, I kept looking, it says written. It's not like a phone call that we can make if we're following this.
We can make an exhip, no problem. We can give folks
I don't
an
know, it's just
opportunity.
a thought. If,
That's a good idea.
otherwise, how are we tracking it? If it's, I don't know how they do the computer tracking, but.
No problem, we can do that. We can do a fillable PDF and figure out how to work. We'll talk to the attendance folks and see what would work with them.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
This is a roll call vote. Ellen, do we do a first and a second as well? Okay, thank you. Sorry. Any other comments and questions? Okay, I think Trustee Miller wanted to first.
Yep.
Second by Trustee Pickus. Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Mack, not here. Trustee Miller.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have item 14C, discussion action approval of resolution 13-2023-2024, the approval of housing plan and use of pupils grant for new construction funding for San Marin High School. CFO Joshua Braff.
Thank you. Yes, I'm presenting to you the resolution. This is a really long one, so I won't repeat it. Basically, when we spend our Measure G bond dollars on upgrades, if they are specific types of upgrades, we are able to get reimbursement from the state of California for those upgrades. HVAC is a big one, sewer projects, basically anything that has to do with the warm, safe, and dry status of our students. What it also happens is that at the state level for those reimbursements, it's allocated based on student populations to each school site. Right now, our projects that are slated for this summer are very heavy at San Marin High School. considering it has a full HVAC project and a roofing that's to the tune of around $8 million. The rest of our elementary school HVAC projects that are going on this year combined equal about $8 million. So what that means is that we will have completely drained the reimbursement funds at San Marin, and we'll have left on the table a lot of reimbursement funds at the elementary school level. So we are applying this resolution to move some of those funds, stating, well, basically, those funds aren't necessarily needed at the elementary school level, but they're needed at the high school level. And one of the ways that we're doing that is we're kind of stating, well, by the time all of these projects are done, some of those kids are going to be moving through the system and will eventually be at the high school where these funds are necessary. The last piece of that is the reimbursement funds. While they're allocated to a project that happened at San Marin, the eventual reimbursement funds can be distributed throughout the district however we need to on other upgrades. So they will not be locked into San Marin High School only.
Questions, comments? Trustee Pickus?
So just to clarify some potential misconceptions, we are not taking money from elementary schools, thereby leaving them without projects completed and giving that money to San Marin, which is going to have projects completed. Everyone is getting the projects they need, but what we are doing is shifting where we are putting that money to put the district in a better place.
It's all about the allocations of the reimbursement funds at the state level. Everything that we're doing is already in process.
So the elementary schools are not missing out on anything. We're not putting the elementary schools back in any way.
Nope.
Thank you. This is also a roll call vote. Do we have anyone who would like to move to adopt? Trustee Pickus? And seconded by Trustee Gasson. Okay, Trustee Butler.
Aye.
Trustee Gasson.
Aye.
Trustee Jacobson, aye. Trustee Lametta.
Aye.
Trustee Millerick.
Aye.
Trustee Pickus.
Aye.
Trustee Roll.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have item 14D, Dr. Tracy Smith, Superintendent. This item is to review and approve board policy update to 1000 series community, series 1 first reading.
All right, so this is policy 1431. This is regarding waivers, which is a waiver is any part of ed code that the State Board of Education is allowed to, honor or consider as something like in the district that we say we can't follow this or we're requesting not to follow it on a temporary basis. You have to seek, and this is kind of outlines the processes for those waivers and adds an additional piece. This is a first reading for us, even though it's been a potential policy for us for a long time. When it came up in the last CSBA batch of policies to update, we decided to pull it forward as we felt it was a good one to have within our publicized policies. So that's why this is a first reading.
Questions or comments from the board? Okay, we'll bring this back on consent. Yes, thank you. Who would like to move that? Trustee Millerick, thank you. Seconded by Trustee Lametta. All in favor? Any opposed? No. Okay, that's 6-0 plus 1. And now we will go to consent item G, which was pulled previously. Approval of 23-24 service contract agreement between Linwood Elementary School and I Love to Read in Spanish. I'm assuming Dr. Sinyard will speak to this. Huh. Why not?
Sure, absolutely. Okay, we are requesting approval of the service contract agreement with I Love to Read in Spanish. We had a previous contract with, and I'm sorry if I'm forgetting the organization, it was Himmelcon, and I can't remember the rest of, if there was additional verbiage in the title. Unfortunately, that contract was not able to go through because this individual moved to Spain and was unable to fulfill the requirement. So we were fortunate, and we found another consultant. Again, I love to read in Spanish, and this is a replacement for the Himmelcon contract that was approved previously.
Comments, questions?
Oh, yeah, no, thank you, and thank you for the data sheet. I think part of the reason, too, that it caught my attention is it reminded me that I know we've got a lot of new people, and there's a lot of different things going on for dual immersion, and so I thought it might be, not for tonight, but a great opportunity to see if the rest of the board thought maybe having, in a few months, an update on all the, the supports that we're giving, how things are going, with the, and like I said, I appreciate the sheet of all the different consultants, because there was also a facilitator. There's a couple of different people I know that we're having, and just thought it would be a great chance to see how things are going with all these changes and supports.
I think that's a great idea. And I would also say that some of the MCF grant called out positions. One was a dual language immersion specialist. So it would have been a certificated TOSA who would have been doing a lot of the support that we now had to go out to consultants in order to support the program. So that's why you're seeing so many. That would not be the particular route we would choose. Even though we trust these consultants, it's not the same as having an in-house person.
Okay, so I make a motion to approve the 2023-24 service contract agreement between Linwood Elementary School and I Love to Read in Spanish.
Seconded by Trustee Lametta. All in favor? 6-4-0 opposed, plus our student trustee. And that is the end of our meeting. Our next regular scheduled meeting is on January 30th. Thank you.